It's because I got that new monitor, so it's sitting off to the side a little bit. So what do you guys know about properties of operation? First property we're going to talk about is commutative. And commutative property just says the order in which you add or multiply doesn't matter. So some examples of that, I can do 3 plus 4, and that's the same thing as 4 plus 3. And in multiplication, I can do 3 times 5 or 5 times 3. So that's the commutative property, and they will break it down to commutative property of addition and commutative property of multiplication. The next property that we're going to talk about is associative. And I like to kind of think about this as you're associating with your friends. You know, you have a group of friends that you associate with. That's that same word that we're using here in math. And it's talking about your group of friends. So you're associating with groups of friends. The associative property says it doesn't matter how you group things together. You can group them like that, or I can group them like this. You're going to get the same answer. The same thing for addition and for multiplication. That is equal to the same thing as 3 times 5. I can't make a little dot, so times 4. Whoops. Okay. So we have those two properties that you do need to know the name of those two properties because those properties come up all the time in mathematics. So commutative is the order, associative is the grouping, how things come out. And then there's some special identities. What's the word identity refer to when you think about the word identity?
It doesn't mean when you add something by 0, it will have it'll still stay the same.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of more in terms of just in general, you have your own identity and that doesn't change, right? So when you're looking at the additive identity, what do you add to a number that doesn't change it? And that is 0. So the multiplicative is asking the question of what do you multiply? It doesn't change it. And what is that number? 1. Yes, Jen. It is 1. So the additive identity is 0, the multiplicative identity is 1. And then there's one more property that we're going to talk about, and that's the multiplication property of 0. When you multiply by 0, what happens?
You get 0.
You get 0. Oops. Yes, you get 0 when you multiply by 0. And sometimes they will give you a problem like this. My sharing is in the way. Something like 5. I'm going to use the star for 5 times. That's good. That's a multiplication. 6 times 25 times 0 times 45 times 2. And they'll want to know what that is. And anytime you see a multiplication that has a 0 in it, the answer automatically is going to be 0. So save yourself some time, look ahead. That doesn't work for addition, but it does for multiplication. So they'll want you to name some of these properties, and you just got to kind of figure out, okay, are they talking about the order that they're writing them in, or are they talking about different groupings? If the grouping is the same, but the order is different, it's going to be commutative. They may have a grouping within the problem, but then they might just switch the order up, but keep the grouping the same. Or they might have a grouping and then change up that grouping. So you have to kind of pay attention when they have parentheses there. Are they really changing the grouping, or are they just changing the order? It'll be the difference between commutative and associative. What is a counterexample? Counterexample is an example that proves the opposite, or an example where the opposite occurs of what you're trying to show. So if I were to say that the sky is pink, what would be a counterexample to that?
The sky is yellow.
Okay, that could be the sky is blue. Generally, your sky is blue, right? During the daytime, a sunny day, it's blue. But at night, when the sun is setting, the sky sometimes is pink, right? Or different hue. So a counterexample, to say that the sky is pink all the time, a counterexample would be that you have a sunny day and the sky is blue. That's what a counterexample is. What's a conjecture? You guys have some brain power, so you have an educated guess towards what's going to happen. So if I take and put a quarter in a gumball machine, what's a conjecture that you could make about that?
You're gonna get a
That the
gumball?
yeah.
That you're going to get a gumball out of it. Yeah. So that's an educated guess. If I put a quarter in a gumball machine, but the price on the gumball is 50 cents, am I going to get a gumball out of that? No.
Nope.
No.
That would be a counterexample. So those two words, conjecture and counterexample, you also need to know what those are. And then you have to simplify down expressions. So if you have variables that you want to simplify down, now I gave that one, that problem number 8 was this. They have a parentheses around it. Okay. I could rewrite this whole thing. What's happening between the 5 and the n? What operation is happening between the 5 and the n?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. So I really have multiplication all the way through here. So I can do this. I'm rewriting the order of it. That's the commutative step. Okay. I didn't really necessarily, I did kind of change the grouping, but I more rewrote the order. So now I can see that this is going to be 90 here. And then how many n's do I have? I have 2. So that's going to be n squared. Whenever you're multiplying, you're going to add up the number of n's that you have, and you're going to put that as the exponent. What if I had this, my addition? I would probably rewrite it to look like this. And that's the associative step because I've regrouped. And then I would add my 5n and my 2n together to get 7n. Sure, I will. My pen doesn't want to cooperate with me today.
Would that be 7n to the second power? N to the second power,
Okay.
or would that just be 7n?
It's just going to be 7n because when you're adding things together, like terms together, they have to be the same. We have to both have an n on it, and they stay the same. So they stay the n. The only thing that gets added together is the number in front. And if you think about the apples, I have 5 apples and I add 2 apples to it. I don't have 7 apples squared. I just have 7 apples. And then I have the plus 9 at the end. Yes, Adam.
For like, you know, the multiplication property of 0.
Uh-huh.
Can we just shorten it like for on our homework?
M of E? M of Z, I mean?
Yeah. Because the line's kind of small.
Yeah, you can do something like that. Yep. Okay. So assignment, page 371, 1 through 10, and then 17 through 35. Why don't we do the 17 through 35 and do those odd, but all for 1 through 10. I'll have that posted in Google Classroom. Okay? All right. See you guys later.